Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Tremble, and this is the Executive Pill Podcast. As you know, this show, along with all of our speaking, coaching, and consulting services, are laser focused on helping organizations prepare high performing leaders from all backgrounds to successfully transition to and excel in VP and senior VP level positions. And if you and your organization are serious about developing diverse and highly effective executive leadership teams, then one, you're in the right place. And two, I encourage you to visit us at gpsleadership.org or reach out to us at team@gpsleadership.org so we can discuss how we can work together to help you reach your organization's leadership development and culture elevation goals. And the Executive Pill is now one of the top 5% most popular shows in the world. And this didn't happen by accident. It was you who made this happen, and it will be you who determines the continued success of this show. So please, please, please do us a favor. If you enjoy this content, if you're learning, if you're growing, if you want this to keep going, I need you to do me a favor. Please click that like button, click the share button, subscribe, and make sure you share your comments and questions in the comment section, because that allows us to not only engage with you and continue the conversation, but also it allows other people to say, wow, I didn't think about this point. That's a great question. So it makes you look good too. So let's go on and get that. Then finally, I'm super excited that my new book, The Relationships That Work, 4 Simple Steps to Building Intentional Connections in Business and in Life, is now available to purchase on Amazon. If you are interested in becoming a senior level leader, if you're interested in navigating your career and being able to provide for your family, if you're interested in gaining influence in the responsibility and the access to make sure your programs and projects are successful, then I'm telling you, this is the book you need to purchase. Please, 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 you can find the link in the subject below and description below. And again, it's Relationships That Work, 4 Simple Steps to Building Intentional Connections in Business and in Life. And with no further ado, let me say, today is a good day. See, today we have the awesome, the wonderful, the always magnificent Miss Rosanne Carnice. I'm joking. It's Carmean. We had a whole joke.
I love how
Because
you
you're
wove that
nice.
in.
You're not mean.
I am not. I am not. Just my last
So
name, it's to scare people.
it's just scare people. We're going to talk about leadership and how to scare people. So Rosanne currently serves as a site engineering director at Constellation, as a site engineering director at Constellation Energy Corporation, and has had over 17 years of nuclear experience with a diverse background of technical and leadership experience. Look, prior to her current position, Rosanne was the nuclear fuels director of core design, where she was responsible for providing direction and oversight of nuclear core design for Constellation, formerly Exelon, nuclear fleet of 21 nuclear plants. This is crazy. So Rosanne is committed to influencing strategic development of women and advocating for the advancement of high potential diverse future leaders. And this is why we have her on the show today. How are you doing today, madam?
I am excellent, and I'm super happy to be here. I'm actually honored and humbled to be part of your show, and I've heard your podcast. I had the chance of meeting and hearing you speak when we were together at NEI in DC earlier in the year, and I'm happy to be here with you today. So it's awesome.
No, that's all I need. Let's wrap this up. Um, Look, we had so much fun. I had to bring you on. We had to
Yes,
do this.
yes, absolutely. And I'm going to have to let Carla know that we were able to connect again for sure.
Oh, please do. Please do.
Yes, because Carla's my
Um,
girl. Love her.
well, I have to ask you a question. Before we got rolling, you mentioned something that I want to continue now on. You
Okay.
you told me that you have taken a number of risks in your career that have led you to where you are now. I'd like to begin with asking you, like, what were some of those risks, and do any of those risks have anything to do with that party trick I told you? I was told that you know how to do. Like, you go into a room, people turn off the lights, and you glow. Is that like a nuclear thing, or like how do we?
No nuclear glow going on here. I think it actually just comes with um, all every risk you take, right? It's not. It doesn't mean you're not scared shitless. Sorry if I can't curse on
Oh,
here.
please do.
It doesn't mean that you're not scared, and it doesn't mean that you're not, doubting yourself or your capabilities. It means that you're going to just put one step forward and move the it's the hardest part is taking that action, right? And
Mhm,
in moving forward.
mhm.
But every time you do that, you build up that confidence. So I think that's probably where the glow comes from. But no, I'll just share, if since you posed the question, if I could kind of start back at the
Yeah.
beginning, if you don't mind. I grew up outside of Chicago, suburb outside of Chicago, very diverse community, working collar, blue collar, working class. I was the first person in my immediate family to go off and get a, secondary education, go to college. And it was when I was deciding where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do, I've always been interested in math and science. My high school guidance counselor actually discouraged me from going into like a STEM field. And I was like, you know
Mm,
what? I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to do it anyway. So I went to
yes.
Purdue and studied nuclear engineering. And through my studies at Purdue, I was able to connect with some people in the industry, and actually was fortunate to get a internship at Exelon. At the time it was Exelon, we're now Constellation. And and when I graduated, I was, I had an offer my senior year of college. So I'm like sitting back like, hey, I'm good. I just have to graduate. And everybody else, all my friends are still like trying to like get their resume out there and get a job. But I graduated, moved back to the Chicagoland area and started working at LaSalle Station as a reactor engineer. And I'll tell you at the time, so this is, 17 plus years ago, um, you know, it's still a very male dominant field in nuclear, but even more so back then. You walk into the plant and it's, you know, it's all male, white males that are kind of running the site, and one of the very few females on site, and that's intimidating. Um, and so fortunately, I had some really strong female role models in the company at the time, and was able to leverage those relationships, and they advocated for me. And I had one particular director, in particular, who advocated for my very first leadership position. So I was able to move into that position relatively early in my career. I had only 10 years of experience before I became a people leader. And it was in a area that I had absolutely no background in. It was fuel reliability, which is a lot of manufacturing at the fuel vendors. It's a lot of materials and chemistry. So it didn't really have the technical background, but I was able to step into that position and really, you know, build those relationships with the team. And from there, my career just kind of took off. But every single position that I have moved into has been one where, I wasn't necessarily the most likely candidate from like a technical background, and I was able to take those risks and take those challenges and just grow myself and kind of grow my brand as being able, as being a leader who can come into a position and rely on the team and getting the most out of that team and building the potential of the team, and not necessarily because of my experience or my technical skills, but really my people leadership skills. So all of that is to say, don't if you're feeling uncomfortable and you're presented with an opportunity, take that risk, because that's how you know you're challenging yourself and pushing yourself, and every step that you take is going to build that confidence that you need to be successful.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And I I want to take another step.
Hmm.
Um, I I'm stuck on my brain keeps thinking about every step you take. I don't know why that song started.
I'll
When you
be
said that, it just keeps
watching
going.
you.
But I want to kick
Wait, are
another
you like
step.
there's like a couple of versions of that song, so I don't know which one you have in your head, but
Every
I'm
dun,
thinking the Puff
dun,
Daddy
dun.
version, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. Oh,
Yeah.
first of all, it's P Diddy. It's
Okay, P.
P
Diddy.
Diddy.
Sorry. Sorry.
Well,
It's been a
let's
while
take.
since I've listened to him.
I don't think he's had anything in a while.
Okay,
I think he
fair
just
enough.
manages. Sorry, yes, you and I. So I want to take another step down that road. You said that you were able to take the risk,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Um, how were you able to take the risk? Is it because you had like a backdrop behind you? Is it because you had like some emotional safety that you built up inside of you? Like
Yeah.
how did you get yourself to actually take it?
Oh, that's such a good question because I think a lot of times part of it is advocating for yourself, right?
Mhm,
So, if you're not communicating to the people that have influence over making some of these, strategic, movements of people and promoting people into positions, um, you have to advocate that that's something you're willing and open to do. And so I was very vocal. So my current position, I actually, as you kind of alluded to in the introduction, I left corporate a year ago and came back to a station, which was a huge leap because most of the people at a station have kind of grown up through the site. So they naturally just kind of understand how the plant operates and just how the work the way that the work flows at a station is very different than corporate. And so coming from corporate back to a site was a huge gamble. But I was very adamant that I was willing to do that. I was willing to give up a lot of the flexibility that comes with a corporate position to go back to a station just so I could continue to hone my brand, that I'm not just a niche player
mhm.
in corporate.
Yeah.
So I think it's being an advocate for yourself, making sure that you are communicating what what challenges you're willing to take, and maybe what are some of your timeline. Like I wanted to get back to a station now because I have a huge support system at home. My husband is also a nuclear engineer, but he's a stay-at-home dad. He actually left the industry when we had our third daughter. And so we are raising three children, and that is demanding by itself, as you know, with your new baby, arrival of your new son. Um, and so there were some sacrifices that I made in my personal life, with my husband willing to kind of step back, dedicate, to the family. That kind of opens me up to broaden my opportunities. And so I was very vocal about that, that I'm willing to go back to a station, that I wanted to do that for my own personal growth in my career, and expand kind of my experience level outside of corporate. So advocating for yourself, and having those sponsors, knowing who are the right people that are in, the executives in the organization that can make those moves happen, and building those relationships. And then just again, it's I think, it's that innate comfort level with putting yourself in a situation where maybe you don't know what's going on, and you have to be vulnerable and admit, like, hey, I'm new, I'm learning, I'm on the learning curve, I'm drinking from a fire hose, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
And these are, it put those barriers in place so that you have that support system that you need. So even outside of, my family, life kind of lending itself to supporting my pursuit of this current position at the station, I have a wide network that I can kind of lean on, and use them to help me navigate this transition to the new position I'm in now. So yeah.
You said so much.
Yeah.
And I'm
Sorry, I
not gonna
talk fast. I think that's the Midwest Chicago. Like, talk really fast.
no. I'm saying so much in regards to like just so many like
Yeah.
great nuggets.
Yeah.
So like one of them, you said advocate for yourself. And I love what you're talking about in regards to advocating for yourself. And I want to take this and again another step further. Not only advocating for yourself to external stakeholders, but
Mhm.
advocating for yourself for yourself. right?
Mm,
Like
mhm,
if you have 10 reasons for why you shouldn't do something, you should be advocating for yourself. As what's 10 or 11 reasons why you should do something? You got to advocate to yourself. Don't only let those negatives be the person advocating on behalf on against yourself. You got to also be
mhm,
your proponent. You talked about your brand and how you were very intentional with saying, hey, look, I don't want to be seen in this certain light. So yeah, I may need to take a
mhm.
side step over here, or take a position that's less flexible over here, because I'm being very intentional with my brand, because I know in the long run I want to be the CEO of Constellation. See, I'm plugging that for you.
I
Um,
know.
and then, and then I mean, you said so much, but the other one I wanted to talk about really quickly is that you talked about, oh my God, okay, you talked about sponsors. And I look, everyone, I do a lot of training on mentorship, right?
Mhm.
I do a lot of training for organizations, develop mentoring programs, and how do you build effective mentoring relationships, and how do you find the right mentor. Like, mentors are extremely important if you want to be successful. um and and sponsors are that next level. Like,
Yeah.
they're actually open doors for you. And I'll tell you, I want to say this one last thing. I'd love to hear your reactions. I was talking to an SVP at a Fortune 100 company just a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about some programs that we may be running at that organization. And and they came back to me and said, hey, look, when we first started these conversations, I told you there is this certain process we had to go through in order to make this happen. And that's the formal process. But now I'm finding out that other people are not doing this process. They're just, making things happen. And
Mm,
like, I bring that up to say, one, people, when you have the opportunity to sponsor someone, please do. Again, have that relationship, know that person, you gotta have the trust, but please sponsor. Don't just pat someone on the back, open the door for them. And two, you also have to be aware within your organization of what the formal process is and what's
yeah.
actually happening.
Yeah. Oh, so I love that you brought up the formal process because, like any big company, they have, structures in place to make sure that they have, formal mentoring programs or sponsorship programs. At Constellation, we have the same thing. But a lot of times those, while they're all well intentioned, sometimes they feel forced, right? And if you're not clicking with that mentor or that sponsor,
Preach.
it's really not going to it's not going to serve either of you. So those organic relationships that get developed from just, you know, again, taking the risk to introduce yourself, maybe it's to that executive that you have admired as far as their leadership style and maybe some of the successes they had in their career. It's taking that risk to introduce yourself. And maybe open the door like, hey, if you're open to it, I'd love to tell you kind of my 5-year career plan, some of the things that I'm interested in. How can you help me get
Mhm.
there? But the difference between that organic introduction and a formal program is sometimes the formal programs, it's just like, they pair you up with somebody who's willing to, volunteer, like, hey, I'll mentor, pair me up with whoever needs it. And then you establish those, okay, let's meet quarterly,
Mhm.
and then it becomes like you're just checking the box, like
Yeah.
you're meeting up, and you may be having some dialogue, but a lot of the, I'll say the it really does take the mentee driving what they want, like
Absolutely.
knowing
Yeah.
exactly, okay, this is what I want to get from this person,
Mhm.
and preparing themselves to come to that meeting, to make the best use of that time. But those
Yeah.
organic introductions, I think, are just as valuable and probably more so because it's not forced and it's not like just scheduled.
Mhm.
But the sponsorship, again, it's those people that when they're in the room making those decisions about who is going to be the next site engineering director, they are offering up those names. And usually it takes that sponsor to kind of break the cycle of just defaulting to, okay, well, this is the natural progression. This person has been in engineering for 20 years and they have all the right experience check boxes. So naturally, they're going to be the next, the next to be promoted. It takes the sponsor to kind of break that cycle of promoting based on experience and looking at who has the potential, who is this upcoming diverse candidate that really needs that sponsorship and just needs to be given the opportunity so that you can see what they can do. And those sponsors are the ones that are going to bring those names to the table in the
Mhm.
room that are making the decision. So I think a lot of times, while mentors are great, I can't, don't want to undervalue the benefit of having a mentor. It's the sponsors that are really going to help open those doors, like you said.
Preach, preach,
Yep.
preach. I I I wanted to ask you a question because you you are focused on being very intentional about developing leaders who are high potential. And you've talked about it a couple times, a few times today. How do you determine whether someone is high potential? What does someone need to do in order to be noticed
Oh,
by
good question.
the Carmean?
That is such a good question because oddly enough, I was having a staffing discussion with the senior leadership team here on site the other day, and we were talking about openings that we know are going to be some shuffling that we know is going to happen, and we were talking about who would be kind of the likely candidates, and I challenged the team. It's like, well, first of all, what does it take to be the next senior manager of whatever title you want to insert? What does it take to be the next senior manager? And I got kind of blank stares, and it's like, well, I was like, is it characterized anywhere? Is there like a job description of like these are all the things you need? So I think a lot of times we don't articulate that.
Yeah.
And when you fail to do that, what happens is it becomes this subjectivity where you're just promoting either who you know or
Hmm.
who has put in the time in that department, and I think it creates this frustration because it's like, well, what do I need to do? Like, um, I mean, clearly there are traits that stand out. For me, some of the things that stand out are, again, being willing to learn from failure, being willing to put yourself out there and maybe um, take on a special project that is, above and beyond what your responsibilities are. Somebody who values developing others, somebody who values teaching others. So there are certainly things that stand out, but I think a lot of times we don't articulate, this is what it's going to require. These are the behaviors we need. These are the things that we're looking for this position. And then holding ourselves accountable to actually coaching and providing feedback so that that candidate with the potential is getting that feedback and and has a vision of like what do they need to work on for that position. So
I again, everything you said, I love it so much. That last piece you talked about, that the difference. I had a whole rant on LinkedIn like a month ago.
oh, I'm
So
gonna
that
have to see that. Usually I see your posts. I'm gonna have to go back.
it was about the difference between leadership development and leadership advancement. Um,
Okay.
Leadership
Okay.
development is nothing more than checking a box saying, "Oh, we taught you this skill, done."
Mm-hmm.
Leadership advancement is being very intentional, saying, "Okay, we're going to get you. You are high potential. We're going to get you here. These are the things that need to happen in order to get you here. And if you don't get there, then that's not a box checked off. Like we weren't successful." And so
Yeah.
I love that you were talking about that. And you also talked about another piece that I thought was really cool, which was um, um, you said that many managers fall into the situation of hiring based off of who they know or who's just been there the longest. And
Mm-hmm.
everyone, like, look, seriously, research bears this out. Like, I talk about this substantially in my book, Relationships at Work, is that most positions, 80% of positions, are filled via the black market. What is that? relationships. And so
Yeah.
one of those things, not only do you need to have the experience, but you should know those people because people pick who they know.
Oh, yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, and that's some of the that's again my position at the station. I have a wide network outside of the station coming from corporate. I'm trying to interject that a little bit, like, hey, let's not limit ourselves to,
Mhm,
just this talent pool. We're a huge company. Constellation's like over 13,000 people. We have talent all over the place. And because we're such a large company, it's hard to narrow in on, maybe who has the ideal potential for this position, but maybe is just unknown, and connecting that. So I think the more that I can bring in my wider network and like open up the possibility, like, hey, have you ever considered this person? I know them from this project. They would be amazing, and
mhm.
and advocating and sponsoring through that channel. And I'm fortunate in my position that I have some influence over that. But the more we can do that, the better off we're going to be in helping get those diverse candidates, the opportunities that they need. And once they're in the door, that's then they're going to shine on their own,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's really just getting them those opportunities up front.
You know, I love to one learn how to do a party trick, glow in the dark, in a safe way. What's called, but I I want to share a really quick story. So, I still remember I was, I talk about this in the book Relationships That Work. I was asked to serve as the international liaison for the U.S. Department of the Interior International Secretary Conference. Long
Mm,
title, but I was set up to be with the European delegation. And we were just standing there. We're standing in this room with all these, delegates from across the world, and we're waiting for the secretary. And
okay.
it is awkward. Like they're standing there, I'm standing there. Like they don't know what to say to me. I don't know what to say with them. And it's just, I mean, I'm young at this point. I'm probably like 25, maybe 25. And we're standing there looking
So this
awkward at
was
each other.
like
And
last year, right?
I mean, I do got this baby face. So, but I do have one gray hair that's popping out.
Oh,
It's on
that's fatherhood.
already.
Yes.
I want to mention something about fatherhood really quick, or parenthood, anyways. But what ended up happening was like we were sitting there awkward, and then I was like, hey, actually, I heard that the nuclear industry is going to try some new styles and harnessing and developing energy and da, da, da.
Mm,
What are your thoughts
mm,
on it? Like, I don't know much about the nuclear industry, but my best friend
okay.
is in nukes, right? I know a
Okay.
little bit. Their eyes like shot open. They were smiling, and we jumped in this large conversation. Yes, they're super smart in this. I had enough information to ask it questions. This relationship lasted like 2 years with these delegates because I had a little bit of information to relate to someone. So I'd love to
Yeah.
ask you like two questions. One, any fun facts about the nuclear industry? And then
Okay.
two, what are some like interesting things that you've learned over the years that helped you build relationships?
Okay. Oh, well, I think that's a perfect example of finding that connection, right? And something a common interest or something a topic that you guys can connect over. Um so that's awesome. I guess some things that I could share about nuclear, I'll just focus on my company. Constellation is, the largest clean energy provider in the U.S. And
Really?
we are, and we split. So we used to be Exelon. We split last year. Was it last year? Yeah, last year. God, I lost track of time already. Yeah, so we've been a brand new company for about a year, and we have, kind of a diverse arms of our business. We have the generation side. So not only do we generate power, electricity through nuclear, we have hydro, wind, we have gas. But then we have a commercial side, and the commercial side is really going out for, selling it's the retail market, like selling our actual power to, just various industries and companies. And that commercial side is doing a lot of really cool things with, um, I don't know if you've heard of this. We just secured a partnership with Microsoft, and we're trying to develop a tool that actually matches where you're getting your energy from. So,
Okay.
like you have electricity coming into your house, right?
Yeah.
And providing electricity to your home. A lot of businesses are moving towards, carbon initiatives, right, where they want to reduce their carbon
Hmm.
emissions. So they'll buy credits, but the disconnect is that they're offsetting their carbon footprint with power that they really don't know where it's coming from.
Mm.
And so they're taking credit for a megawatt of electricity that was
Ah,
generated by a gas plant in Texas in April, and they're offsetting their carbon footprint from July. And so they're not really matching up their megawatts. So Constellation, the commercial side, has partnered with Microsoft to develop a tool that'll do time and location based matching of, okay, this megawatt coming in, it is actually from a clean energy source like nuclear. So
that's so cool.
that is to me, I think that's super crazy because you don't really think about where is the electrons coming from when you
Oh
think
yeah.
about turning on your light bulb. So that will help us kind of accelerate just on the regulatory side and the federal side, like being able to actually trace back like this is where the power is coming from, a clean energy source. And I'll say some other exciting things on the nuclear front that Constellation is involved in is hydrogen production from nuclear energy. And what that can do is, actually we just had success at our Hillaby, one of our Hillaby gas power plants, blending hydrogen with gas so that we can reduce the amount of carbon that is emitted from that gas plant. And so that'll revolutionize, decarbonizing the economy, if we can really, on a broader scale, generate hydrogen from a clean energy source and then use it to reduce carbon. So nuclear can power all kinds of things, not only, clean energy, but also trying to help some of the other industries out there that do emit carbon, reducing their carbon.
I really do think that more people need to look and learn about nuclear energy. And again, I'm kind of lucky because one of my best friends is in a nuke, so we're always talking about it. But
Hmm.
there's
You
so many
have that
positives.
access to information.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. One of the things that we talk a lot about business acumen also, and I think that's something that aspiring leaders probably don't spend enough time developing their business acumen.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of companies provide like investor relation presentations. You can go on Constellation and search investor relations, and there's all kinds of material that can help you understand just kind of big picture, what are some of the market trends? What are some of the things that we're doing as a company? So it's one way to help share with your friends out there that are curious about nuclear, what's going on.
Well, I can't obviously provide the best information for everyone, but I can
Hmm.
say um, a source not to go to is probably The Simpsons. I would
Oh,
I'm going to go out on a limb and
uh,
say that they're probably not the best representation.
no, no, the three-eyed fish don't exist. No, definitely not. But I think you're right. There is somewhat of a negative perception about nuclear, but I think that's changing. And
I think so too.
actually, that's something that as you know, we connected over the next program, which is a leadership development program through Women in Nuclear, and that was our capstone. Was targeting recruiting of young females age of 13, recruiting them into STEM fields, but also helping spread, the positive benefits of nuclear and kind of, debunk some of the negative perception that's out there. So the See It to Imagine It campaign was our capstone, and I'm really proud of that.
I am very interested in connecting with you, reconnecting with you now because I want to hear more about your capstone and how
Hmm.
successful it was. Um, and I know that we have to start wrapping up. I think you said that you're going to meet with President Biden to do some deals or something. I don't know. But you're a power player. I did want to say one thing, and then you can react to it. You mentioned
Sure.
my little boy.
Yes.
You
Oh,
know,
yes. Your parenting. Yeah.
the
Or
crazy
parenthood. Yes.
parenthood. The thing that I think I was more surprised about. Like I've been surprised about a lot being a parent. But the thing I was like most surprised about was like how quickly I became disgusting. Um, I remember like giving parents side eyes when they'd be like wiping stuff up with their fingers and putting on their shirt and all kind of stuff. And I was like, come on, I do better. But
Oh, that's
but
so
I
funny.
the first diaper, literally in the hospital, the first diaper, like I didn't even think it was I had boo-boo on my hand, like just like taking care of it. Like it's
But it doesn't
amazing.
phase you,
It
right? It
doesn't.
doesn't phase you because it's your kid and you're taking care of them. Yeah.
Yeah. I just
It's yeah, it's funny how your threshold for what grosses you out really it takes a lot now.
it's look, madam, please, I want to open the floor to you again. Is there any thoughts, ideas, anything you'd like to share as we begin to wrap up?
Yeah, I appreciate again the opportunity to have the platform to just share thoughts around leadership and um, I think for me the most important part of my position is paying it forward, and I love to be able to connect with people and help them, you know, just coach them and help them figure out what is their path, what are they looking to accomplish, and try to open those doors for them. As I mentioned, I came from a suburb of Chicago, didn't really have those role models. So representation matters, being able to see it and imagine yourself matters. And I think sometimes it's just helping people understand how to get from where they are to where they want to be, and sharing my experience so that maybe it inspires them or gives them the information that they need to take that first step. So, um, I love the work that you do, and with this podcast, with your book, and and just again just being a huge champion for developing diverse leaders. I love it. Um, yeah, I think that's really what I wanted to just reinforce. Keep doing what you're doing.
And madam, you please keep doing what you're doing. Um,
Hmm.
because I'm going to add on to this. Not only do leaders, do ambitious go-getters need to have someone to bounce ideas off of, to develop that plan, the strategy to get to where they want to be. They need to have those people in their lives because just simply seeing them gives them
Hmm.
the idea of what could be, right?
Absolutely.
So
100%.
I
Yeah.
just I love what you're doing. Thank you for being you, and please continue doing what you're doing.
Thanks,
Um,
Alex.
oh, now you got me over here blushing. Okay, everyone, you know where I'm going with this. If you found this episode helpful, if you found any advice that was shared today, if you found it, you know, like heartwarming, if you found it educational, inspiring, motivational, whatever it may be, if it was positive, please do us a favor. Don't just look back, reach back. Don't say someone else should have been here. Share the episode with them. Make sure they have this content so they can grow within their lives and their careers as well. And again, please check out the book Relationships at Work. If you've been listening, we talked about how important it is to know the right people, to have sponsors, to have mentors, to have the ability to be known when someone knows there's an opportunity. Relationships at Work, that book is designed to help you do just that. As always, I encourage everyone here listening. Sorry, sidestep. Thank you for everyone listening. I appreciate you again. So, as always, I encourage everyone, stay strong, stay positive, and definitely stay moving. See ya. Thanks for listening to The Executive Appeal with Alex Tremble. I invite you to follow The Executive Appeal wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow me, your host, Alex Tremble, across all socials or via email for exclusive webinars, courses, and speaking engagements on continued topics of executive leadership. So, until next time, stay strong, stay positive, and definitely stay moving.